Come in, it's Misha. I'd love to know where everybody's coming to me from. I'm in Kentucky in the US. Never thought I'd live in Kentucky. Grew up in Idaho, ended up in Maryland, and then Kentucky. So it's been a wild ride, but I love it. You guys, I want to talk today about the heart. It's my favorite thing to talk about with insulin resistance. And I have some information. As always, I'm going out trying to find more and new information. I'll be giving you guys some of the old information because not everyone has heard me talk about this before. But I talk a lot about insulin resistance. And why do I talk about insulin resistance? Because it's at the root of 95% of what we're all sick from today. So whether it's inflammatory diseases, arthritis, brain fog, neurology issues, it's all linked. And the heart, the liver, the kidneys are all linked in. So I've been gone for a couple of days. I got a little bit sick. And that's always hard for me because I'm here talking about health every day. I feel like God gives me, the universe, the creator gives me this opportunity to learn so that I can give information to other people. And I think that's really what my life has been about. So here we go. So I had dealt with my insulin resistance a few years ago, and then 4 years ago, and then some symptoms started coming back, and I was concerned. But my blood sugars, my A1C, all of the other indicators were fine, so I was in a conundrum. But I didn't feel like talking about it because I didn't know what was going on. We're going to start with the heart, and then I'm going to get into all of that was going on, because maybe somebody else is experiencing some things that are similar. That's why I talk about this. If you can see, hey, this piece or that piece happened, or this sounds like me, and I want to start to feel better too, that's what I'm here for. So let's dive in. The heart. Let's talk about insulin resistance and the heart. First off, insulin resistance, you guys, it's pretty simple. We're overeating too much. We're eating too much glucose through bag box barcoded stuff, right? So if it's in those, it's a lot of glucose, and that is not attached to a lot of fiber. Fiber in nature is put with carbohydrates to slow them down from hitting our bloodstream. When we have it hit the bloodstream too quickly, too often, that rises our insulin, which is a hormone that takes all of that energy in the form of glucose or the sugars or the carbohydrates that you're eating and delivers it to the cells of your body. Hey, Ronaldo, welcome in. So you guys, so insulin is a transport system. It's a lock and key because it opens up those cells, but it also meddles with all of our other hormones. Now, with the heart, there's 5 ways. I'm not going to go into depth with them because I've done that many times, and I want to get to this new information today. With the heart, here's 5 ways that I talk about. Now there's going to be 6 ways. But the first way that I talk about, the insulin resistance is causing problems with your heart. It makes your innermost lining of your blood vessels way too thick. The endothelium starts to get thick because insulin is delivering energy. Those particular cells are taking up too much, so they're getting like beefy thick. But what happens is it takes the interior of your blood cells or your blood vessels and takes them from the size of a fire hose. Hey, David. And makes it the size of a garden hose. So now if you can imagine trying to take the pressure of a fire hose and putting it through the size of a garden hose, there's going to be a lot of pressure and strain on that little garden hose. That's happening to your arteries or in your blood vessels. So then what happens is those endothelium thicken up is they start to not be able to produce something called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide helps our blood vessels open up and relax when they need to so that blood can pass through. But now those blood vessels that are already too thick and tight can't relax. They can't chill out because there's no nitric oxide being produced to allow them to do that. And then we get put into fight or flight. When insulin is elevated, cortisol is elevated. Cortisol makes your heart pump. It's like you're getting ready for that fight or flight, that tiger coming after you, that T-Rex, whatever, but we don't have that now, right? But high levels of insulin are increasing your levels of cortisol, and that consistent fight or flight mode that we're in not only is causing anxiety and depression, but it's causing extra work on your heart. And then it starts to address your kidneys. Now your kidneys are malfunctioning, and they don't know how to produce a substance called aldosterone. Aldosterone regulates salt and water in our body. When that dysregulation happens, now we're holding on to too much salt, which means we're holding on to too much water. And now those blood vessels that are small, tight, and under stress already are under more stress because we're increasing the volume. And then number 4, and I might do a talk on lipids later this week, but number 4, it's changing the ratio of your LDL particles. So LDL, or low density lipoprotein, has different sizes. We're going to talk about size A and size B. Size A is big and buoyant like a beach ball, and size B is small and dense like a golf ball. I've just done some videos on all of that, so you guys go look if you want a little bit more information on that. But the big buoyant ones don't really cause a lot of problems. They just kind of float around and do their job. Those LDL particles, by the way, the little B ones, are there to help heal up the inside of those blood vessels. Sugar in your bloodstream is like shards of glass, and it's starting to make tears in those blood vessels. So where an LDL-B particle could go in and close up a tiny hole and heal it up and keep your blood vessels strong, with insulin resistance, with too much sugar, there's bigger and bigger tears, and there's more and more of the LDL-B, the tiny ones, and they get into those tears and they can't block them up, so it starts building up dams. Now you have cholesterol buildup. Now you're having even more pressure on your heart as your vessels and your arteries are starting to get clogged. So that's the first 5 ways I talk about. Insulin resistance is causing all of that, too much sugar. One way that I just kind of dove into recently was visceral fat. Don't know why it took me so long to put those pieces together, and I don't really hear anybody else talk about it. But with insulin resistance, your brain is telling you to put on a specific type of fat. You guys, we have 2 types of fat. We have visceral fat, which is in and under the muscle wall of the belly, and we have subcutaneous fat, which kind of sits under the skin. With insulin resistance, you're producing more visceral fat. So you could be thin on the outside and have a lot of fat on the inside and still be insulin resistant, even though you're not overweight. That's a big problem. People think, oh, I don't have a problem because I'm not overweight. Thin people, you all can be sicker than some of us heavy people. So now, that visceral fat, though, isn't just in and around the intestines and the liver and the kidneys. It gets in and around your heart, epicardial fat, which is this fat that's building up in your heart. Now your heart's even working harder, and insulin resistance is cueing more of that fat buildup on your heart. So a couple of things that I learned this week while I was away, while I was unable to come and go live. I had a bunch of health issues happen. And again, I was like perplexed. Like, I've been doing this system. I'm going to talk about a system that actually got my blood pressure under control. So my blood pressure was 180 over 150 for years. And doctors were unable to get my blood pressure down. In fact, my primary doctor was as terrified as I was that I was going to not be here by the time I'm 65, and I'm 61 now. But 180 over 150 every day is where my blood pressure was. It's now 110 over 72, 74 every single day, no medications. That's part of the reason why I love talking about the heart so much. Nobody ever talked to me about any of that. Nobody ever explained any of the stuff about the heart to me, and yet they just kept piling on medications. Medication after medication after medication, and yet I was getting sicker and my blood pressure was just getting worse, and we couldn't figure it out. And lo and behold, by doing this protocol, which is just 2 drinks that I have in the day, we're going to talk about in a minute, it reversed my diabetes. It reversed my high blood pressure. It reversed my skin tags and my dark skin patches. There were so many good things that helped with my health once I started this system. That's why I talk about it. And it's what I want for everyone else. I've had people write to me about their kidneys, about their liver, about their heart. And I get it, you guys. I get it. I get that you're skeptical. There's so much out there. And right now there's a ton of things out there about GLP-1s and all of these other things. But this one system was specifically designed to address insulin resistance, and that's why it helped my heart, my liver, my kidneys, my hair growth, my skin, all of it. But what I'm finding now is, oh, by the way, I'm writing a book. So I'm going to give you guys an offer here in a little bit. I need a couple of test subjects to try out this protocol that I've created. And we're going to talk about some of that stuff right now. Because one of the things that I've learned over the last 4 years as I've gotten better as I've addressed a number of health issues and continue to address health issues, um, is that the gut microbiome is extremely important. If your gut is sick, everything else is sick. Our diets are devoid of fiber. And I know the protocol that I talk about has 2T and 1 fiber, but there's a reason why I do 2 of the fiber every day regardless, and it's for my gut microbiome because I've had so many issues. So, you guys, I want you to hear this. Um, if you take care of your gut microbiome, your body starts to do better. I was hearing a guy talk the other day, and he said, it was a fitness guy, but he said, if you have your health, you have a multitude of problems. Like, you have other things to focus on, but if you don't have your health, you have one problem, and that's that you got to get your health back. Most of us are not paying attention to our gut. Now, I'm kind of rambling, but this is how it goes when I don't have a outline, but we're going to talk about this because I get all these questions, you guys. Behind the scenes, I'm asking a ton of questions. So I started thinking about carnivores, right? Because everybody comes on and they're like, oh, we'll just do carnivore and you don't have this problem. You don't need fiber. But in the research that I've been doing, that's not so clear. There's people who are doing well on the carnivore diet, but just eating meat, there's some microbiome in our gut that doesn't get fed by just meat alone. And it's fine. There are some other microbiome that can grow and be healthy, but now you have less diverse gut microbiome. Those bacteria in your gut do a lot for us in helping keeping things cleaned up and moving well. When we're losing fiber and vegetables and stuff, we're losing a piece of our gut microbiome. One of the interesting things is how long it takes for some of that to regrow. I don't have a number on that because I was thinking about something else. We're going to talk about this as well. We're talking about the heart, but I got to get this off my brain right now. I just heard from the author of Metabolical. I've heard a lot of information from him, Robert Lustig, but he was saying that when you're insulin resistant and you get to the point where you're building up glucagon resistance, leptin resistance, a number of other hormone disorders, it takes a long time to heal that. So you may be able to reverse the insulin resistance within a few months, but things like leptin resistance. Now, leptin is a word that gets confusing for some people, so I'm going to stop. You have a couple of hormones that regulate your hunger and your satiety. Ghrelin, I always think of hunger. That's your hunger hormone. That's in overdrive when you have insulin resistance. That hormone is going crazy, so you're hungry all the time. Leptin, the one that tells you that you're satiated, is almost non-existent with insulin resistance. It's really dysregulated. You're really resistant to that leptin hormone. Anybody want to take a guess at how long it takes to repair leptin resistance? We know that we can start to turn insulin resistance around fairly rapidly, but again, knowing that long period insulin resistance causes leptin resistance where you just never feel full. Not necessarily that you're hungry all the time, but that you just never feel full. How long, do you guys have any idea? Is it months? Is it years? How long does it take to get that leptin resistance reversed so that your hunger and satiety hormones are working properly? It was a shocker for me, you guys. It takes 5 years for your body to start responding to leptin normally again once you've addressed insulin resistance. So this is one of those things where people start to change their diet. They start to do good things, and in a year they feel better, and then they go off the wagon, and then they're like, but I'm still sick all the time, and I just never feel full. 5 years, you guys. 5 years of addressing insulin resistance once you've built that before your hunger and satiety starts to normalize. That means you've got to stay consistent. That means it's got to be something you can stay consistent with. That's why I love this protocol. It's 2 teas that I have in the day. I have both of mine mixed up in here, and we're going to talk about what's going on with this tea today in just a minute. And then I have the pre-meal drink before I eat anything. Now, I've been fasting for over 36 hours because we're going to address something else. Fasting, by the way, is one of the best ways to start getting your insulin sensitivity back under control. You might not be able to start with a 36-hour fast, start with a 16-hour fast. If you can't start with a 16-hour fast, start with a 12-hour fast and work your way up. Hey, Baba. So fasting is one of the big keys to getting insulin sensitive. And the problem is people are like, oh my God, you mean I can't eat all day? We're not meant to eat all day, you guys. We're not meant to wake up and have carbohydrates and bagels and super sweetened coffees for breakfast, and we wonder why we're sick. We should only be eating a couple of times a day. Now, Robert Lustig talks about OMAD, which I'm not really on board with, but I'm not a doctor. So we do a 16-8 fast, meaning you don't eat for 16 hours and you have 2 big meals in an 8-hour window. Why? It helps keep your insulin levels down. And part of the problem with all of our illness today, why everyone is so sick, is that we have high insulin levels all the time because we're constantly eating, we're constantly snacking, we're constantly doing things that increase our insulin. By the way, it's not just food that increases your insulin. Toxicities outside of us that cause inflammation can increase your insulin. So harsh chemicals in the home, too many blue lights all day long can cause cortisol distress, and that can raise your insulin. Anxiety, depression, those things cause a rise in cortisol, and that causes a rise in insulin. There's so many things. But the big thing that we can all take control of to help insulin resistance, which then downline helps our heart, is the way we eat. I don't expect anybody to be Puritans. I've cleaned up my diet, although the last 6 months it's not been perfect, but I'm very much more cognizant of what I eat. I don't buy as many bagged, boxed, barcoded things, although I do get some. I try to cook from whole foods at home, and you guys hear this all the time, and really that's one of the best things you can do. But even when you do that, our modern food environment is so changed, and we're going to get into some things right now. So we have farming practices where our crops are not rotated, and they're not the good kind of fertilization is not happening. We're adding chemical things like Miracle Grow and whatnot to get those fruits and vegetables to grow really big, but they don't have a lot of nutrient value. Now we're going to go back to the heart and insulin resistance. Insulin resistance starts to mess with your gut. And when your gut is messed with, when your gut microbiome is messed with, you are not absorbing as many nutrients as you should. So you're not getting in the vitamins and minerals you should. Why is there such a big market for vitamins and minerals? If our food was so amazing and so healthy on its own, why does everybody supplement with vitamins? Because we can't absorb them. And because our foods today are very different than they were 50 years ago, and they're not delivering the same density of nutrients that they used to. 40 to 70% less dense in nutrients than they used to be. Now we start to have a problem. Now our gut microbiome is off. We're not getting nutrients in, and we have our mitochondria. I don't know why I'm diving off into mitochondria, but the little powerhouses in our cells are needing energy and nutrients, and they're not getting them, and they're dysfunctioning, and we just have all kinds of problems. The heart's not getting what it needs to function properly because our food is bad, and we're building insulin resistance, which is making it worse and worse and worse. Understand, addressing insulin resistance, you start to put on more lean tissue, which means you're regenerating things like heart muscle, liver muscle, kidney muscle, intestinal muscle much better when you're insulin sensitive than when you're insulin resistant. You're getting nutrients into your body, so all of that can happen. Your bones, by the way, your bones don't regenerate like they should when you have insulin resistance either. They're tearing down constantly, but they're not building up. Osteoclasts and osteoblasts, there's a difference in those when you have insulin resistance. But all of this stress in the body starts to stress your heart even more. So beyond the really direct ways that I talked about that insulin resistance is causing high blood pressure and cardiovascular events, we have all of this stress that's happening in the body. Now we're going to talk about the gut, because again, when the gut is sick, the rest of the body feels sick. When the gut is healthy, the rest of the body starts to feel healthy, but it takes time. So if your gut microbiome has been sick and struggling for years, it's going to take years for a lot of this stuff to turn around. There's no magic pill. You guys, I hate that we live in a world that everybody's looking for it's done, I'm fixed, because there's not such a thing. We have to take care of what we have to take care of. When you drive a car, do you just go buy a brand new car off the showroom lot, never put oil in it, never put gas in it, never change the tires, never take it through a car wash, and expect it to look as good as it did the day you drove it off the showroom? No, you don't. But why are we treating our bodies like this? Why are we taking our bodies mudding, going through all this junk, and then never washing them off? Intestinal stuff. Why are we putting so much crud in our body and then expecting our body to function like a high octane machine? We just can't. We have to know that because our food environment is so jacked up, we have to fix that. One of the places that we need to address it is in the gut. So I'm going to go back to carnivore and fiber. Yeah, people are experiencing help with the carnivore diet. I see it everywhere. There's no long-term studies on it. I don't know a time in history, and somebody can correct me because I'm always about learning, where we only ever ate meat and didn't have any kind of root or vegetable in our diet as well, right? So we may have gone for periods like that, but I don't think that there's ever been a group in history that didn't have some kind of vegetation along with their meat. Now, again, the fibers in your fruits and vegetables are creating a different microbiome, a more diverse microbiome, one that can help you keep inflammation and oxidation at bay. But we're not getting those fibers in the food that we're eating today. And when you have a gut dysbiosis or this problem with microbiome, you really have got to start to feed it. So when your gut microbiome is off, it causes things like leaky gut, where you have this inflammation, and that inflammation is leaking out into your body. It can actually even travel up the vagus nerve and get towards the brain, but it starts to get in your blood, and the blood is carrying this inflammation around the rest of the body. And you wonder why you're having autoimmune diseases, why you're having inflammation, neuropathy, edema, all of these things happening because your gut is unhealthy. Your gut is unhealthy because of the food we eat. It all comes back to the same thing. But if we know that our food is not perfect, and how many of you guys, I want to be realistic. I don't expect anyone to go out there and say, I'm going to go eat, what is it Jordan Peterson eats? Strip steak and salt every day. That's all he eats. I don't expect anyone to go do that. That's not realistic for most of us. Most of us, I think we can have a good balanced diet, and start to feel better. That's where these come in. So I'm gonna talk about this real quick, and then we're gonna go back to some of the gut inflammation stuff because it's really important and it's gonna lead into the book. So 2 teas I have throughout the day. My tea today has some cinnamon in it because it's antimicrobial. We're gonna talk about why. So I put some cinnamon in my tea today. Yes, you guys can add stuff like cinnamon, ginger in if you want. You can add an extra squeeze of lemon, and it still does not break your fast. It actually supports your body. This particular tea is highly concentrated. It has about 375 times the chlorogenic acids of a standard yerba mate tea, and more than 30 times that of the next leading competitor. And it's tested and it's clean, so it's very pure. I trust our products because they're pure. But what does this form of tea give you? Yerba mate gives you energy. It gives you mental clarity. It helps increase your GLP-1 level, so you're feeling satiated and not feeling hungry all the time. This is how I make it through a 48-hour fast. Because by the time I go to my kids for dinner in about an hour, I will have been fasting for 48 hours. The tea gives me the ability to make it through that. Plus, it tastes great. The one I have in my cup today is apple spice. So perfect to add cinnamon to, but that's not breaking my fast. I drink it during my fast. My ketones stay up, my blood sugars stay down, and I stay healing when I'm drinking this. Plus, it has every vitamin or almost every vitamin and mineral needed to sustain life in it. So those vitamins I talked about, now I'm getting them in high doses just by drinking tea that tastes amazing, that's building gut microbiome, that's helping me be more insulin sensitive, that's helping me be more satiated, that's helping me, with energy. And that's another thing. We're going to talk about caffeine in a little bit, you guys. There is some caffeine in this, about the same amount as a cup of coffee, but you're not getting all the sugar and other stuff. You can tell it's tea, the lid. But there's also things in this tea called adaptogens. And it doesn't really matter that you know exactly what they are, but the adaptogens help change how caffeine acts in your body. So instead of getting this throw you up against the wall and then drop you on the floor energy, you're getting sustained long-term energy with mental clarity, with satiety, with a ton of vitamins and minerals that are giving nutrients to your body that it's starving for. Then what I do before I eat, which I don't know, my daughter-in-law cooks some pretty amazing food, but who knows what she's going to fix today. So I'll have this before I eat. This is 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers. And that's important. When I listen to Dr. Lustig, Dr. Bickman, Dr. Fung, Dr. Bolsowitz, all of these people, and they talk about fiber, one of the key things they talk about is that we need a variety of fiber. We need fibers that are soluble fibers. And that soluble fiber actually helps feed your gut microbiome. But you know what else it does? As it's feeding your probiotics, it's creating something called short chain fatty acids, which is cueing your body that you could burn some fat. So I actually use the fiber in my fasting days for a number of reasons: to help my gut microbiome, to help my ketones be as high as they can be. Oh, by the way, the tea helps produce growth hormone and ketones. It doesn't have them in it. It supports your body so that your body can do what it's meant to do. And that, I think, is important. I'll talk about ketones in a bit. But the second piece of my day, for you guys, the system is going to look like this. 2 teas in the day. Again, both of mine are mixed up in this one mug. I just sip on it all day. And then this pre-meal drink before I eat. Now, this is where we get into the gut. This is designed to slow down a sugar spike by up to 43%. That's huge. So, and that was tested on a breakfast that had like waffles and syrup and orange juice. Reduced the blood sugar spike by 43% over when they didn't have the pre-meal drink before. But it's doing more than that because it's feeding your gut microbiome. It's helping you with cholesterol issues. Both of them are heart healthy, even though this has some caffeine in it. It's really good for your heart. So now you're building strength and energy and health where that was all failing before. So the gut microbiome, you guys, I do this right now. I'm doing a protocol. We're going to talk about my book in a minute. I'm doing a protocol that I wrote for myself for something called SIBO. Does anybody know what SIBO is? Put a 1 in the chat if you know what SIBO is. Put a 2 in the chat if you need to know what SIBO is. It's something that I just really discovered lately. I've known about it, but I've kind of ignored it, thinking it didn't apply to me. And I was listening to some lectures the other day, and a light bulb went off. So I'm doing 3 of these a day to help my gut microbiome right now. This is great for blood sugar spike, but if you really want to take a look at everything else that's going on in your body, we have to understand that variety of fibers. And no, like Metamucil benefiber, they're one type of fiber, and they can often be really hard on your gut. They're not helping. And so, Alma, you know what SIBO is. Well, most people will say that with SIBO, you need to avoid fiber, right? What they're talking about is something like psyllium husk, because that can be really, really intense on your gut, a gut that's already full of negative bacteria and inflamed. So SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And what happens when that happens is that bacteria, which is negative bacteria, starts to get into other areas of the body, and we start to have a lot of inflammation, oxidation, and problems throughout the body. SIBO can make you feel bloated. It can make you can start to have GERD or gastroesophageal reflux. You can have gastritis type symptoms. You can feel swollen and bloated across your body. You can have some depression and anxiety problems. It can affect your heart. But SIBO SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, mimics insulin resistance. And of course, there's a link. So the more insulin resistant you are, the more likely you are to build SIBO. Now, I'm going to stop because I think a lot of people will check out like I did when you talk about SIBO. Doesn't affect me, right? What if I told you that according to Dr. Robert Lustig, 60% of people who have excess weight have SIBO? Okay, so look at yourself. Are you carrying extra weight? Are you already concerned about insulin resistance? And are you feeling bloated every time you eat? Are you feeling like you get acid reflux every time you eat, no matter what you eat? Tired all the time but can't sleep at night? They're very similar to insulin resistance issues. And that's been happening for a long time because of insulin resistance. Now, insulin resistance, there's a lot of ways that SIBO can happen. Insulin resistance is one. But when SIBO happens, that bacterial overgrowth, because we're not getting in enough fiber, then it starts to increase your insulin resistance. And so now you, again, have this negative feedback loop where things are getting worse and worse and worse. So I'm writing a book. Right now, it looks like it's over 100 pages. There's going to be a protocol in there. I'm trialing the protocol on myself right now to try and deal with my SIBO. We figured this out because I was doing really great on the Feel Great system. All of these good things happened. My hair started growing in. My skin tags are gone. All of the indicators of insulin resistance are gone, yet I was starting to have IBS again. I was starting to have bloating. I would laugh at my grandson and be like, touch my tummy, because after I ate, it felt like a balloon. I attributed that to my gallbladder being removed. Okay. Likely, right? Gastritis symptoms, all of these things. I never understood enough how having insulin resistance, which caused me to lose my gallbladder, which then caused my liver to function differently, and the microbiome in my gut to react differently. All of that over time. And this is a big bomb for you guys, because you know I love fats, right? I talk about olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, butter, and ghee. So I really leaned into those, even though I had no gallbladder, and I was doing fine for about a year. But then about 2 years ago, I started having gastritis. I started feeling really sick. I started having problems, and sometimes it doesn't make sense what I eat. I'll be up all night in pain. SIBO. When you have no gallbladder, so be careful. Don't let people just tell you to remove your gallbladder. And remember that it's coming most of the time from insulin resistance, and I can do a talk on the gallbladder another day, but when you have no gallbladder, your liver is continually, instead of bile, let me be specific, instead of bile, pooling up and sitting in your gallbladder, which then releases that bile to break down fats when you eat them, your liver's just dripping bile all the time. That in itself changes your gut microbiome. Then you add in the fats I was eating to help my insulin resistance, and now I have a perfect storm of having a microbiome that's highly likely to ferment and cause inflammation and more overgrowth of bad bacteria. And I didn't know that was happening. I had no idea that that was even possible. So now I'm even more aware of taking care of the gut microbiome. So I've written a protocol. The Feel Great system is part of it to help me get my gut microbiome back under order. Now, had I not lost my gallbladder, things probably would look different. One of the things I also want to admit to, if you guys have a gallbladder issue or you've had your gallbladder out, I've talked about it before, but you guys, I'm human, I messed up. Digestive enzymes and ox bile. You must have those when you eat if you have no gallbladder, or you put yourself at risk for developing SIBO also. SIBO is not fun. It's been horrible, and it makes it hard for you to lose weight, a number of things. So make sure to take care of your gut. Make sure that you're paying attention to that. That's why I love having 2 of these a day. The protocol I'm doing now, I have 3 fiber a day because I'm really actively, aggressively feeding my gut. Part of what I'm doing is some other natural antimicrobials like oregano and some cinnamon and maybe peppermint, but I'm doing that to try and get my gut microbiome under control. Now, all of this information is going to be in the book I'm writing. What I want to say is this: if you suspect that you have SIBO, and look, if you have it or you don't, doing the protocol that's in my book that's upcoming is not going to hurt anything. It's going to help you regardless of whether you have SIBO or not. But if you think, like I've been, especially if you've been doing the system and you're like, I feel like I'm stalled, I feel like something's wrong, or I just can't get past this gas and bloating, reach out to me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trial the book with 5 different people, and I'll talk more about that later. I'm creating a landing page who are willing to do the system or are already on the system and who are willing to follow this little protocol that I wrote up that includes some fasting and some nutritional support to get your gut microbiome back in control. So I'll be dropping all of that information, and we can sign up for that as I'm writing this book. And then when the book is ready, these 5 to 10 people will be the first ones to be able to read the book, put it into use, and tell me if it's working for them, because that's important. I don't want to just put out information. Although there's going to be a lot of information in the book between the heart, the gallbladder, the liver, the kidneys, SIBO, insulin resistance, typical recommendations, all of that. But if you guys are interested, reach out to me. I will be putting a landing page up on my link in the next, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, where you can sign up to be part of that trial group to get that ebook for free. And see if this protocol that I'm doing, which is just real food and some sensible methods based on gut microbiome to help you get that better. And yes, the Feel Great system is key to my protocol, because why? Because why would I now in the protocol? I'll have some other alternatives. So for people who are looking at the book later, you can choose what way you go. But again, if I'm helping my gut microbiome with both of these, I'm helping me stay satiated. I'm helping my gut heal. Leaky gut can heal. The gut microbiome can reset. Everything else starts to get better. Then why wouldn't I do it with real food products that I trust? Now, these products I trust because they go through that hyperpurification process, which means pesticides, toxins, microplastics are all removed. That's important. Do you guys know that some of those toxins that are in the food, not just that our food is bad, not just the lack of fiber, some of those toxins are also causing this gut microbiome problem. So I'm not perfect. I distill my own water. I do some things, but yes, I have some guilty pleasures once in a while. And so I just do the best I can where I can. And that's what I'm inviting everyone else to do, is to start doing better a step at a time. So I'm going to bring out my ladder analogy, because for me, it's one of my favorite ones. With insulin resistance and Alma, I see you. One of my favorite analogies is this: when you're dealing with insulin resistance in the protocol, some people will start to see results right away. Like, I felt more energy right away. I had more mental clarity right away. My blood pressure started coming down right away. I didn't lose weight for 6 weeks. There were some other symptoms that didn't go away. It started to go away over a year's time or whatever. My blood pressure normalized after about a year. But it's this wrong analogy. So, and I don't know why I always pick on Goggins, because he's loud and he's, just like over the top. But you don't have to be Steve Goggins. You don't have to go be Jordan Peterson and eat strip steak every day and that's it. What you want is a diverse microbiome. You want health back. You want to be able to enjoy your life with your family and friends. You want to be able to have pizza when they have it. I want to be able to go to my daughter-in-law's house and have whatever she decides to have. Last week we had Indian food, but she's an amazing cook. So whatever she fixes, I'll eat. They usually eat pretty healthy. But like, I can have cake and cookies and stuff, which I'm going to be avoiding as I'm addressing my SIBO. But the reality is, it's not like we're telling you have to live without that. This is not a jump to the top of a 3-story building kind of thing. This is a take a step at a time. And the first step is to just start using the Feel Great system. It gets your blood sugars under control, gets you more insulin sensitive, and it does it in a way that allows you to live your life. So you eat the foods that you eat. And as you move along and as you get better, you start swapping things out for better foods and better choices. And you're going to feel like it when your body feels better. And then now you're making real progress because you're climbing that ladder one rung at a time. But if I put a ladder up against a 3-story building and the bottom half of the rungs were gone, you could jump and jump and jump, but you're going to fail a lot. The system is made to help you, assist you along the way by giving you the nutrients and the pieces of our modern food environment that are missing so that you can start to get healthy. Look for that, you guys. I'll be talking about the SIBO book a lot more over the next few days. I've been working hard on it. Lots and lots and lots of information. I have a curious mind, so every time I think of something that I think might be related or that somebody else might have experienced, I include it in there if it's applicable. So it's turning out to be quite a long book, but I think it can be helpful for people who are dealing with insulin resistance, because this is the thing. Insulin resistance, I know I was talking about the heart today, but we'll talk about this. Insulin resistance creates excess weight. That excess weight starts to cause a lot of problems in the body, knowing that 60% of people with excess weight have SIBO. And now we look at a gut microbiome that's way out of control and it's leaking into other areas and it's causing you to feel discomfort when you eat. That's a problem. Address the insulin resistance, but now we've got to get the gut microbiome in order, and that's why I wrote this little protocol that includes the Feel Great system. Now, SIBO and the heart. So I transitioned into SIBO. We talked about that. SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. That's causing some inflammation in your body. Ladies, you might be experiencing things like yeasty type infections. Men could see that as jock itch or foot itch or whatever. That's an intestinal system that's out of order, unless you just never washed your feet. For men, athlete's foot. Okay, all right, back on track. But this SIBO in your gut, that inflammation then gets into affecting your heart. And now your heart is got excess fat, blood vessels that are too small and won't open up, and you're carrying too much water, and your LDL particles are all the wrong size. And now you have this inflammation from your gut that's basically attacking your heart and making your heart worse. So there's that. It's interesting to me how all of this stuff is linked in. And this is why I love what I do, because now we're addressing one simple system to take care of all of these health issues, or potentially take care of these health issues as you address the real root cause of insulin resistance. So I had to shut down a couple of my free ebooks and stuff because there was a problem with domain. My last week was crazy. All of a sudden, everything just shut down. And so those domains are back up. I will open up the free ebook. After this live, I will open it back up. 6 simple steps to managing insulin resistance. So I'll talk about in the short little ebook, things like fiber first, prioritize protein, don't fear fats, limit your carbs, do some time-based eating, and exercise, move your body. Some of those same things are going to be included in the SIBO book in more detail. I'm going to be having recommended foods in there, as well as the protocol to help you heal SIBO. You guys, one of the things I asked, and I worked for doctors, so I check with different sources on my thoughts, right? So I'm like, one of the main remedies they give for SIBO, and I'm not telling you not to do it, but I'm asking you to think about it, is antibiotics. Antibiotics go in and kill off everything. And SIBO is not the same kind of thing that we normally take antibiotics for, but now you're flooding your gut with these antibiotics in an effort to kill off the bacteria. The problem is that when you do that, you're likely, if you're not changing other things, you're likely to grow back the same type of bacteria and end up with the same type of overgrowth. What I'm doing with the protocol that I'm putting out, hopefully it'll be out in the next couple of weeks, is that the soluble fibers, which every single doctor that I've listened to on SIBO has talked about soluble fibers and a variety of fibers. This helps feed your gut. So I'm doing the oregano oil, I'm doing peppermint oil, and the oregano oil, you guys, I couldn't find my doTERRA oil, so I just bought some oregano oil caps, and I have those once a day. Then I'm refeeding my gut, so I'm putting in um, prebiotics in the form of these soluble fibers, which every doctor has talked about. And then I'm adding in some probiotics on top of it, well away from those antimicrobials. Now I have a system that's feeding my body and helping it heal. And we'll see in about a month how this goes, because I should see a difference in SIBO in about a month from now. And then from there, it's just going to be managing. Um, so there's that. But the system is so versatile. We all talk about it for insulin resistance. We all talk about it for getting the health back. And I've heard people talk about their kidneys, about gout, about their heart, about Hashimoto's, a number of things that really start to feel better with a natural approach. Now I'm diving into this whole thing called SIBO, and it was shocked me the other day when I heard about it and started doing the research on it, that there are so many of us who have it and don't know it. So we'll include symptoms and some of that in the book, but look for the ebook on managing your insulin resistance. I'll open that back up here soon. And then I'm just distracted today, you guys. Phones are going off everywhere. But before I head out, I do want to talk about this. If you want to order it, I'll put the link in on YouTube and Facebook. You guys here, just go to my profile. There's a link there, and I will get the page open that talks about the system. So give me a second. Actually, maybe I can do that while we're talking, because I have a little page that goes along with the system that explains it, the cost and what it is, and then you can either choose to have a conversation with me to see if it works, or purchase it, and then either way, we're going to get you starting to feel better. All right. Oh, that was the other thing. So one of the things I never talk about, and I need to talk about, is the business side. Yes, this is a business. Yes, I help people with this. Yes, this is how I make money, but I'm making money helping people, and I put a lot of research in. You don't have to. On my team, all of the stuff that I've created, people have access. My team has access to. But if you start the system and you have somebody who says, hey, what are you doing? I want to try it. Just by referring them, you get $10 off of your next purchase. So you get 5 friends and family who want to do it. Now you get $50 off of yours. And it's only about $5 a day in the first place. But if you are like me and you're tired of going into an office, and I have so many other concerns in my life at 61 that says, I don't want to go to an office because you guys, before this, I was working in a doctor's office all day long and sometimes on Saturdays. And then I was transitioning to take care of disabled people in their homes at night. So I was working 2 jobs, which meant I never had a lot of time for my family or the things I loved. This business, I get to help people. I get to spend time with my family, going to dinner with my family. Wednesday nights are family nights. I get to take the weekends off, and I still get to have an income that allows me to have a life that I never thought I would have. If you're interested in that, let me know. You don't have to be sciencey and crazy like me. This is just how I operate. I have a number of people on my team who just share, and they share the stories of what's happened, and they do really well. But if you want something that can help your life, both your health, your family's health, your friends' health, and help you with some extra income, and you get to decide on how much income that is, let me know. There's a link in my profile for that too. I'm going to head out and go see the fam, and I'm going to get those links turned on right now. So if you guys go to my profile on TikTok after, you'll see the link, and all of the links will be back up now. That should be there. So there's a link to get a hold of me for the business if you want to talk about that. There's a link for the products, There's links for my ebook, the free ebook I have. That one's only about 20 pages. This next one is going to be well over 100 pages. So you'll find all of that information there, as well as how to get a hold of me and just text me and say, hey, I need help, or this is what's going on. Do you think it could help me? Understand, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physician. I cannot diagnose. But can I understand if this system has the possibility of helping you? Absolutely, I can. And oftentimes I can explain how that can happen. So get a hold of me and I will see you guys tomorrow. Oh, that's right. I'm going to start going live. Wednesdays will be the time I go live on at 3. There's been a lot changing for me. So I will be going live at 6 p.m. on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we're going to see how that goes, if that can work into my life. But Wednesdays will still be at 3. And we'll see you guys later. Have a good day.